The other thing is, Mr. Clerk, item number 10, if we could, please.
Item number 10 is adoption of resolutions initiating the proceedings for the fiscal year 2013 and 2014 annual renewal of the Oceanside Lighting District, Assessment District number 2-1991, setting a public hearing for the June 5th, 2013 at 5 p.m. to confirm the assessments and provide direction to form an overlay lighting district in the Rancho Del Oro neighborhood.
Thank you very much. Doug, how are you, sir?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, good evening. Douglas et al., Real Estate Manager, City of Oceanside. Item is broken up into two components. The first component is the annual renewal of the assessments for the Oceanside Citywide Lighting District. We have to adopt certain resolutions that initiate the proceedings, adopt the engineer's report, declare an intent to levy the assessments, and set a public hearing date for June 5th, 2013. The assessments remain the same as last year for fiscal year 12-13. There is no change there. The services will be basically the same. The second item has to do with getting direction from the City Council to form an overlay lighting district for a portion of the Oceanside Citywide Lighting District. That's for the area that is basically known as the Rancho Del Oro area, and that ties into the villages of Rancho Del Oro Master Homeowners Association area as well. That area, as you know, the property management company had asked the city to replace the street lights there because they were not of the similar standard as the other street lights within the city. The city said they did not have that responsibility. The HOA then sued the city. The city received a favorable judgment, I believe, from the Superior Court in February, saying that the city was not responsible to replace those street lights. The city, in an effort to try and create a funding mechanism for the residents of the HOA, want to get direction from the City Council to look into forming an overlay lighting district, which could create a revenue stream to pay for the replacement of the street lights. So what we're looking for in that second item is direction from the council to proceed with looking into the formation of that, which includes hiring an engineer, trying to determine the costs, and try to prepare the necessary resolutions to bring the item back for initiation of the proceedings. Thank you.
Doug, I appreciate taking a seat at sidebar. I have the city manager. We've gotten so many emails on this over the last couple of years about fixing the lights. For us, we took legal advice from our own city attorneys because of the circumstances. With that, I know a lot of the neighbors don't know all the details, or maybe even their own HOA didn't explain it. Mr. Weiss, our city attorney, could you highlight some of the background leading up to this? It's what I'm worried about, and our city attorney advises is if we say to this particular group, HOA, that we'll fix their problems for us, does that mean we'll do it for every other HOA in the entire city? So that's our concern and legal advice and our concerns. I want you to understand that. With that, if I could have the city manager explain how this started and happened, I think that'd be important for some of those people.
Honorable Mayor, council members, as part of the information we prepared for the court proceedings, within the Rancho Del Oro specific plan area, the city approved the use of decorative materials for their street lights as well as some of the other street furniture. Those decorative features at the time were known to have a service life that was significantly less than what city standards would have been. Our standard street lights are concrete. These are made out of metal. There were street maintenance agreements executed between the city and the HOA, as well as within the CC&Rs of the development, that provides for the HOA to essentially be responsible for the cost to provide the replacement materials at such a time as they wear out to the city for the city to install. The HOA has been very or the management company for the HOA has been very insistent that they bear no responsibility in regards to replacing those lights. Even though the city prevailed on that court judgment, the fact of the matter remains that the lights can't get replaced. We have not had a lot of cooperation from the management company to look at additional options to replace those lights. We did make several offers to compromise, which were not met or received very well by the management company. So this action and we're not forming anything. We're just going to start that process. There will be more than adequate time for other public opportunities to address the council, which would, if the council does see to going forward with the formation process, will result in all of the residents within the Rancho Del Oro neighborhood being able to submit ballots in either favor or in opposition to the additional assessments.
Thank you, sir. Could you please explain why we took down certain lights?
Certainly, we have ongoing inspections of a number of those lights. Those that were deemed to be unsafe, several of them actually fell down, and the rest of them have been removed by city crews. We go out and inspect the ones that are rusted significantly to the point where we think they're going to be a safety hazard, and we just recently removed another 32, I believe the number was.
Thank you. I just wanted some people out in the audience to understand that this is the choice of that HOA to put these particular lights in, part of their MOU with the city of Oceanside, and that's why you lost in court, is you agreed to it and that you replaced them. So now we're in a situation for public safety, what we're all concerned about, but we can't do it for every HOA out there and just for one. So what we're trying to do today, I hope you understand this, is not doing anything except try to look at what a lighting district might be for that particular location and what the cost would be and what would have to be taken to get those lights in there. We're talking about, what, 600 and something lights? And what's the approximate value
The
per
total
light?
number within the public streets is approximately 640.
The average cost of a light, do you know?
We had gotten original estimates of around $3,500. That includes the light, the fixtures, and the installation costs. But again, until we go through a process and actually put it out to bid, we won't know for sure.
I just wanted some of you out there to understand what's going on. We're not just necessarily being mad. I think we should help the neighborhood and the people out there. Well, you'll have a chance here on this particular item to talk. How many? We have 2 speakers. If you didn't turn your slip in, you need to get one in. Go ahead, please, for the public.
Yeah. First speaker we have right now is Joan Hacker. You may come forward for 3 minutes.
Good evening, sir. Either one of the podiums. Good evening.
My name's John Hacker. I'm a civil engineer.
Could you pull the mic up? Somebody have a hard time getting it. Thank you.
Okay. My name's John Hacker. I'm a civil engineer. I've had a home here in Oceanside, homes in Oceanside for the past 30 years. And I've been in business, practiced for 50 years. My office is in Palm Desert. And over the years, I have done hundreds of parking lots for Jehovah's Witnesses in various parts, and we've used these lights. But I'll give you an example. I did the engineering on the Kingdom Hall here in the Rancho Del Oro area 20 years ago. And I have here the light standard that I submitted.
We all saw those, certainly, yes, sir.
And I took pictures of those, and one of the things that I did, you'll note the note that I had to put in these, and let me read it. It says, note, keep a close eye on any exposed metal once the paint is worn thin. The metal is vulnerable to rust. Apply a fresh coat of paint every 5 years to keep the light pole rust-free. If they had done this, if they had gone through and maintained these light poles would not be in the condition they are. They should have been installed on a raised concrete. I took a picture, I don't know, you saw the one, some of them were put in correctly, some were put in incorrectly. The ones that were put in correctly seem to have weathered the storm. A few years ago, I had a similar problem on one of our projects, and it wasn't my doing, but so I wrote up a report on what they could do. This was up in Northern California. And in that case, you probably saw the things, they used the acid to wash them and go them down to and use phosphoric acid, and they could be brought down. And then we welded a C-section on both sides and repainted them. And that's been, I haven't heard, so I guess it worked. The point that we're saying here, the management company should go in right now and repair those lights. And the ones they can't repair, they should replace. I feel that they've failed us in the homeowners group in not maintaining the lights. It wouldn't have been that expensive. In the last 10 years, I have contributed $12,000 to their fund. Where it's gone, I don't know, but there was money there. And the point I'm saying, it is not the city's responsibility, I don't feel, as an owner there, for you to go in and do their work. Any questions for anyone?
None, sir. I did get your information sent to all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jimmy Knott may come forward at this time.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. A few years ago, there was public meetings held for a city-wide lighting district where the public met with staff and ideas were exchanged. Well, nothing really has happened from that, but the public had a lot of valid ideas, one of which was shared with staff, which is very good, which Camp Pendleton took advantage of, and that was using LED solar lighting. And what they did is they applied for federal grants, and guess what? They got them. I let the city staff know that the funding was there. Just yesterday, I met with some staff and let them know the funding is still there from SDG&E, from the PUC, and the Department of Energy. I wonder if we'll take and be ignored again. Because, once again, there is funding available if applied for. Now, the lights that we're talking about, there used to be right across the street out in the front here, a couple of those lights that deteriorated, where you could actually, the public was actually going up there. I can remember pushing on it and actually collapsing in on itself. So yes, they needed to be replaced because they were a public hazard. But I believe that this is not just one area. There are other lights throughout the city that need attention as well, and other areas in the city that need lighting as well. I think this needs to be just looked at instead of just for one area, to look at it as citywide type problem. And I think that we need to take and look at this as a sort of a gestaltic type of situation, as a holistic type of problem. Instead of looking at sort of behavioralistically, we have just one little problem, we go after that problem. Because there are more issues that are going on throughout the city where there are underserved areas. So I would encourage you to take a broader look at this. And again, look at that citywide lighting district. I think it's needed. I think we need to look at our neighbors to the north. They were wise. We were not as wise. And I think we need to start being wise. Thank you.
No further public at this time.
Thank you. Back to the council. Councilmember Sanchez, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have any information about whether or not there are funds out there for these special kind of street lights that are solar powered?
Honorable Mayor,
City
council members,
Manager.
I can answer that. We actually have a program in place. We have a contractor selected, and we have a plan in place to replace all 8,400 and some lights throughout the city with LED fixtures.
Great.
There are state programs and federal programs available. We had originally received tentative approval back in February for the loan through the state program. That loan has been suspended originally to July. Now we're looking at, I believe, December or January. The minute those funds become available through the state, we have an application on file with them, and that should be able to be approved. Our goal would be to bring that to you right away. Our goal was to actually start replacing the fixtures this summer, but again, without that loan program, we will not be able to do that.
Thank you. I'm surprised that we only had one person come up. Mr. Hacker, thank you very much for being here, for your comments and for the information that you brought us. But I am surprised that other neighbors, other residents from Rancho Del Oro are not here. Hopefully they're listening at home. If not, how are we going to get the information out? This is, of course, public hearing, and it's usually done via the internet as well as by newspaper. But is there a way to also do notice like in the in some kind of billing? Is there a way to
Honorable
give
Mayor,
an extra layer of notice so that people are very aware of this?
Honorable Mayor, council members, we did send a letter to all residents within Rancho Del Oro letting them know of this option. We did not have a specific date for your action, but that letter did go to all residents in Rancho Del Oro. If you act to initiate this process, there will be a point where every resident will be provided notice of additional opportunities to come both before you and then also express their opinions on whether or not they want to essentially assess themselves for the improvement. So at some point, everyone will again be receiving additional information.
Okay, and this public hearing is set for June 5th. Is there a way for them to give their ideas about this, about saying yay or nay, by, say, on the website or by calling? You know, are there different ways for residents to communicate their desires on this?
HOA.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Sanchez, the item for June 5th is the citywide lighting district annual renewal. The second item, which is to move forward and look to pursue a overlay lighting district, will take longer than that, so it's not required to be that time. Okay,
and how long will it take? This is part of this request is to spend $47,500 on an engineer to come up with this plan and for consideration.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Sanchez, until we meet with that assessment district engineer, we won't know the exact time frame. We're going to try and do it as quickly as possible.
So no, you don't want to venture a guess? June, July, August, September?
I won't venture a guess at this time.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move approval. I'm sure this way we'll get some responses back. We'll get some additional input, and which is what we need to determine whether or not the residents are wanting to go this route. So I'm going to go ahead and move approval for all of the recommendations that staff has put before us.
Vote. I'll second that. Thank you very much. Anyhow, Councilmember Fowler, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Thank you. In our backup here, in that letter that was sent to all the residents, it says members have been assessed for the repair and eventual replacement of the streetlights. And in this Villages of Rancho Del Oro HOA, actually it's an annual report from just 2001. That's probably 15 years after these villages were founded. But in there's a place right in their annual reserve reporting staying streetlight fixtures, paint, replace 20%, and a current replacement cost at that time they had budgeted $118,000. At one time, I saw and this was maybe 4 years ago, a budget, or maybe it was just an annual statement as well, that had $700 and something thousand in it for streetlight replacement within the HOA. So somewhere the HOA has, whether they've incorporated it into their $2 million reserves or wherever it is, it seems to be missing. I do have a question. Before the lawsuit, we made some sort of offer. Could somebody tell me what that offer was?
They have.
Honorable Mayor, council members, we had offered to split the replacement costs for those lights that were removed on a 50-50 basis.
But they would not speak to us, or was that the
declined?
Part of the city's proposal was also that the HOA would, as stated in the maintenance agreements in the CC&Rs, take responsibility for the remainder of the lights, and that was rejected.
So our offer was split the cost of the replacement of the ones that are down.
I believe the 132 that were
Yeah.
removed.
Okay, very good.
And Councilmember Feller, in response to your earlier comment, we did have substantial discovery in the case, in the litigation, about the actual amounts that were collected by the HOA for streetlight replacements, but we won summary judgment in the matter before discovery was completed. So we have some documentation about what was being collected, but before all the depositions were completed, we won judgment in the case and weren't able to finish that process. So,
Right. So, for those people that may be watching this on TV, I know that Vicki, my aide, has responded to probably several hundred emails and letters in various forms. I've read them all. It was a form letter mostly that we got. So I would just encourage the people to pay attention in their bills and how this comes about, because I think we have to come up with some settlement and some arrangement that makes sense for this. And as far as lights in every neighborhood, not every neighborhood wants lights. Fire Mountain, Morrow Hills, they don't really want street lights. So anyway, that's I will support this.
Mayor, council members, just one comment. We are at a point where we've exhausted every effort to try to work with the management company to resolve the matter. This would be, from our side, pretty much the last step in trying to find some solution to work with the residents to replace those lights. As we go through this process, it may turn out that the residents aren't interested, in which case there would be very little left for us to do at that point.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Kern, please.
Thank you. Question is probably to the city attorney. Are we looking eventually have a 218 hearing where it's a protest vote? Or are we looking that they need to vote positively for or against this?
well, eventually you will need to take a couple of additional procedural votes. Tonight is just sort of giving general direction to staff to move forward with some preliminary steps. There will be 2 different meetings where you'll have to take some procedural votes. Ultimately, though, it would conclude in a Prop 218 voting by those who are to be assessed.
Okay, so they'll have plenty of opportunity. So I think it kind of answered Councilmember Sanchez's question. It's going to be a process, and they'll have at least 2 more opportunities for the public to weigh in. Hopefully they will pay attention, because I've been receiving the same emails with the form letter, and when I respond to them with a copy of the city manager's letter and what we tried to do, a lot of the homeowners write back, well, thank you, we didn't know. So I think the one thing that does need to be replaced is their management company. I think ultimately, I think that's where the problem is, but I can't do that. Mr. Hacker, I see you nodding your head. I think that's something that the people within the association need to ask those questions. And if they're as diligent as sending us form letters as they are questioning their management company, I think we'll come to a solution. I got to commend the city manager and the city attorney and Mr. Edow about finding a path to a solution for the lights. So basically, if the people want lights, we can get them lights, but they're going to have to step up and pay for it. I'm sorry we can't talk to you anymore, but anyway, I think that's it. So we'll have plenty of opportunity to discuss this. Keep those cards and letters coming in. I mean, the idea, I would love everybody to respond, and so we can get the information out as much as possible. I think the more people know about what happened and how it happened, I think the better chance that we will have to come to a resolution on this probably within, I wouldn't say before the end of the year, but we will come to a resolution on it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Feline.
Thank you, Mayor. As the only councilman up here who lives in Rancho Del Oro, along with the city manager, we're both kind of personally affected and have seen both sides of it. And, certainly one of the first actions as a city councilman that I recall was when we discussed this issue in closed session, and the city made what I thought was a very generous offer, even though we were under no legal obligation to do so, to settle the issue and avoid the court case. And I think it was certainly irresponsible for the Homeowners Association to move forward with a case that was certainly thought to be at the time and proven in court to have no legal merit. And the Homeowners Association further doubled down on a bad legal argument by accusing the city of criminal misconduct, and the city won on that stand as well. And the city had the right to recover significant costs as part of that process, which we've chosen to waive in an attempt to put this issue behind us and move ahead. And sadly, these legal cases delayed a settlement for 2 years. And I certainly think, I think the residents of the area need to kind of now decide whether or not they trust the city to replace the street lights, or whether or not they want to rely on their homeowners association to replace the street lights. And I would certainly like to make sure that the city doesn't spend $47,000 yet until we kind of get a feel for that, because I think most people in the community don't realize that this is where we're at now, that we now need to find a solution for those of us who live in the community to resolve this issue. I would also add that when I was a candidate for city council and this issue was coming up, I met with our city staff and the city attorney, and I got an excellent review of the case as the city saw it, and their opinion of it, and trying to get an understanding of it. I also contacted the Management Association to set up a meeting with them so I could get their view of the case and why they felt they need to have a reason to sue, and I was given the brush off. So I have to say the management company certainly has not been friendly as far as trying to explain their case. And I can say certainly since I've been elected, I've not been contacted once by the Homeowners Association to explain why they felt the city as a whole should cover this issue. And certainly it was all resolved in court in the city's favor. And once the city made an offer and it was turned down, I think the council as a whole had no choice but to go forward and not settle the case and establish a bad precedent as part of bad case law that would forfeit the city's rights down the road. So the city made the right decision. We won on the merits on every single issue, and it certainly showed that the decision to resort to legal action was reckless and irresponsible on the part of the Homeowners Association. And I don't know, the decision in the court was so lopsided. I think the only lawsuit left is for legal malpractice against the attorneys who told the Homeowners Association they had a case. But I would encourage everyone in Rancho Del Oro to communicate with the city council and let us know, and also communicate with the Homeowners Association as to whether or not you prefer the Homeowners Association to be the lead agency in replacing the lights and having it done through our assessments, or whether you want the city to be the lead agency in replacing the lights through an overlay district. Either way works, either way solves the problem, but we need to hear from you. Thank you.
Sir, right ahead.
I just wanted to note from the record that I did have communications with the Fair Political Practices Commission on behalf of both the city manager and Councilmember Feline, who live in the area, and they did give us their opinion that given the facts and circumstances here, that because we're dealing with the maintenance of existing infrastructure, that this action in front of you did not present a conflict of interest.
Thank you, sir. With that, please vote. Mm-hmm.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, if I could, I'm going to jump ahead because we got delayed earlier.